Hello, everyone. Welcome to the In the Pocket podcast. Back here for another episode where we go over the draft needs of NFL teams ahead of free agency, ahead of trade period, the league year, and of course the NFL draft coming up in April. We covered the AFC the last time on, so we're going to cover the other half of the NFL and talk about those NFC teams. There are some teams that are very needy in a lot of positions, and some teams that I don't think necessarily really need to make much changes to their roster. But we'll hop right into it. I want to start by talking about the New York Giants and Xander. I want you to kick this one off. Obviously, they go out and they draft Jackson Dart last year. They seem like they might have a real strong running back in Cam Scatterboot. Can he stay healthy? Is he going to come back from injury the same way? We don't know, but it certainly seems like that offense still needs some help.
Yeah, I mean, the offense needs a lot of help. You need to surround Dart with some playmakers, man. He's a young quarterback. He looked thrilling to watch last season, and he needs playmakers. Malik Neighbors, he's going to be coming off a torn ACL. They're about to lose Robinson in free agency. So you need to surround him with some weapons over at receiver. And then obviously Scatterboot, he's out for a good chunk of next season because that was a pretty severe injury. So who do they target at running back to help with the run game? It was pretty lackluster last season, in my opinion. So they need to go out and get a running back. But I think, in my opinion, the biggest need isn't even on the offensive side of the ball. It's on the defensive side of the ball for the New York Giants. I got to go with the corner slash secondary as the biggest need for the New York Giants. They lack a true shutdown cornerback opposite of Adebo, and other options like Banks, they just haven't lived up to expectations. So adding depth and playmakers in the secondary, it's a top priority for the Giants, especially given who they're facing in the NFC East. Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Jaden Daniels. Got to go defense.
I'm right there with you. I also think that they really need to attack that secondary. I would be interested in the upcoming draft, which of course we'll get to when we do our mock draft video, whether they decide to take one of those top wide receiver prospects to pair with Malik Neighbors. I'm not sure if that's something that they're gonna try and jump ahead and do. Do they attack anything at the offensive line? I think maybe they need some help at the tackle position. But right now, I think if you go into this league year and you're looking to make a splash, maybe you go out and you target some free agents in the secondary. Logan, what do you think? What do the Giants need ahead of this season, second year with Jackson Dart?
Yeah, I'd either give him a weapon, Jackson Dart, or I'd go secondary, like you're saying. I think, you look at this defense, it's pretty stacked. You look at the interior defensive line, even the guys at linebacker, Brian Burns, Bobby Okereke, McFadden, who's young, Thibodeau, who's been in trade talks. But, that defense looks pretty stacked when you're talking about getting to the quarterback or stopping the run, but that's not what they've been able to do in this last year. They couldn't stop the run to save their life. But so it's kind of hard for them to go out and think they need to get a cornerback when they couldn't stop the run. But it is the area of need when you look at personnel.
Yeah, and you're right. That defensive line does look really stacked, and with those linebackers too. But yet they ranked second to last in the rush game last year. We'll go ahead and move it on forward to the Washington Commanders, and division rival. They're also looking for some things. I think that they needed to overhaul that defensive edge position. I think that that's maybe where they end up going. There's a lot of really good defensive ends in the draft. There's also going to be some available in free agency or guys that maybe you could trade for. So I like what you're thinking, Logan. They definitely do need to get another receiver outside of McLaurin. We saw how that was last year. Terry missing some time. Debo Samuel had some plays, had some flashes here and there, but he's not the same player he was in San Francisco. But I think that defense is really where the problem lies in Washington. Xander, what do you think?
Yeah, I think their offseason focus should start to center on adding playmakers around their young core, especially on defense, and giving Jaden Daniels some help in the passing game. They need to create a more consistent pass rush. They need to upgrade the secondary. They just let go of Marshawn Lattimore. So they need to upgrade the secondary, especially with more speed and coverage talent. They need to give Jaden Daniels a reliable receiving target because it's just Terry McLaurin, a slow Debo. I mean, Debo has made some plays, but he's getting up there in age, so he needs more receiver help. And then you also need to build depth at linebacker and safety. So addressing these areas, it's going to help the Commanders rebound from a terrible 2025 season, considering they made the NFC Championship game a year prior.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they could attack offense, defense. They will probably attack both. I just see it being primarily a defensive problem right now, like with their position, depending on who's still available. Um, I think that they might go ahead and draft a defensive end. But like,
Yeah, I'm right there with you at edge. Like if any, the most glaring issue is that edge rusher position because you added so many of these veterans last offseason and they still lack the true difference making edge rusher
It's
and
at
the
every
D line
position.
struggled.
It's at every. They're old at every position, man. But
They
like
look
they are.
terrible.
they couldn't defend the pass to save their life. So I agree with what you're saying. You got to get an edge rusher to get to the quarterback. It helps the defensive backs out too. But when does it start to make you question what you got in the secondary? But yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think we saw at the end of the year last year that the offense was capable of at least going down and scoring points, but the defense so many times kept them out of games. Even with the backup quarterback in there, they were going down the field and scoring points. And what did they win? 6 straight games to end the season.
Zach Ertz was balling too, and he had a career-ending injury. It looked like last year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
With that, we'll move on to the next team, and this is an interesting one, guys, because there's a lot of what ifs involved with this team, and this is the New Orleans Saints. And for me personally, I think you got to focus offense for the Saints. With Tyler Shuck showing that he really can do it out there, will he be able? Will they go out and get him something? Will Kellen Moore try and build a maybe not an Eagles like offense, but try and get some weapons out there that can run a similar concept to what he was running out there in Philadelphia. Now here's where the what if comes in. I would say normally you're going to go out and maybe try and get a running back. I'm not sure how Alvin Kamara is going to be. I'm not sure whether he'll even be on the team. But there is a high possibility that Chris Olave is not on this team this season. I think he's going to get traded away. I think they will try and get some value for him. So do you go and you get a wide receiver? Do you prioritize that position for Tyler Shuck, or do you give him somebody he can hand the ball off to? I'm really torn on both of those. Offensive line is also a position of need for them. I think their whole offense really needs an overhaul. So I like their defense. I think there's some spots that they might need to pick and choose where to upgrade a little bit, but primary focus offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I got to go with receiver here. They lacked a consistent pass catching weapon outside of Chris Olave, and then they traded Rashid Shaheed. Look what he did in Seattle. So there's a steep drop off after Olave, especially with Vele. He missed all of 2025 due to an injury. So adding a proven wide receiver too and just depth around Chris Olave will be a priority, especially given what we saw out of Tyler Shuck towards the end stretch of the season. Saints have their guy at quarterback. So, like Jackson Dart with the Giants, Saints need to give their young buck a weapon.
yeah. I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna switch up from you guys. I think it's either gonna be a running back or it's gonna have to be an edge rusher for these guys. They finished the season very strong. I really like the offensive line. I feel like that's been built and it's formed into a very solid offensive line. Calvin Banks Jr. was pretty solid. Ruiz and McCoy as the center and right guard pair. That's a pretty tough duo. So in terms of teams that have needs at positions, I feel like the teams that have needs at offensive line kind of struggle going into the draft because it's like, where do we go? Because we need a playmaker, but we also need to help the offensive line. Without a good offensive line, we have no playmakers. So it's a tricky position when you need offensive linemen. I do see what you're saying. There are probably a hole or two and maybe some depth they could add to offensive line,
Well,
Max.
the problem is they're young, right? So
Right. Yeah.
I think bringing in a veteran guy could help them one for the season or
Oh,
two,
yeah.
but also being able to develop some of these guys that they've brought in that they
So
drafted.
So what you're saying, and maybe I would agree with this, is go after that need in free agency because it's not a
Right.
top priority, but you could still add to depth, maybe attack that in free agency and go and get you an offensive or defensive playmaker.
Right, and I think
If
that's something that we gotta clarify maybe for the viewers. This isn't just draft needs. This is needs all around. Things that can
right.
be
Oh yeah.
addressed in free agency and trade as well.
Right, because there are teams also that find themselves in a position where they really need a wide receiver, but they probably shouldn't draft a wide receiver where they are placed. Maybe a receiver has gone off the board, or maybe a receiver is not worthy of that pick at the time. So yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I would go get a defensive playmaker. If I don't think Love's going to be available after that combine performance. So
No, he's
say
not. And like you and I both had him going to New Orleans
yeah,
initially, and
initially, yeah.
now I think that changes a whole lot. I
Yeah.
think he's a top five pick at this point.
And I think the depth at receiver too, you mentioned, we've talked about a few teams that need a receiver. The depth at receiver in this year's draft is going to help teams be able to stay a little patient. You know, they can wait to round two, round three,
A
maybe.
lot of underrated guys. A lot of
Oh
guys that
yeah.
are going to fall into the second and third rounds that are probably going to be
Not
drafted.
top heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. Now another NFC East team. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, man. And when you look at this team, it is so blatantly obvious. You don't even consider that offensive side of the ball. It is defense, 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 defense all the way through. Pick a position, you can upgrade there. Obviously, you just lost Trayvon Diggs. He's not with you anymore. I think you've got to attack some secondary things, but really the problem is that run defense, man. They could not stop the run at all. They couldn't stop anything. I don't even know what I'm saying. They couldn't stop the pass. They couldn't stop the run. I think you could address any position on this defensive side of the ball, and it would be beneficial to you. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you think attacking because I think you guys agree with me. Do you guys think attacking the run defense or the pass defense is more important for the Cowboys?
It's kind of both. They just need anyone. They're in a
Right.
situation where, pick a defensive player who's elite and that's going to help the defense. Yeah, you need to stop the run, but let's hope that, what they did with the interior defense line with last year with the draft might, find its way to, might smooth out throughout 2026 based on what we saw in
So
25.
they
Quentin
they
Williams coming over late.
they sit with the 12th overall pick. So at that
Yeah.
point, Xander, do you think if they are sitting there at 12, they just take best available defensive player?
Yeah, I mean, anyone on the defense is going to be an upgrade over who they have. My biggest position of need for the Dallas Cowboys is secondary. They struggled badly in 2025. They were near the bottom of the league in pass defense. You have Deron Bland, who missed significant time due to injury, and the team is thin behind him. So there's no Trayvon Diggs. He's no longer a factor. He's out in Green Bay. The Cowboys' offense, they're golden. They remain strong. I love their offense. The major issues center on a defense that just gave up way too many points last season. I think they gave up an average of 30 points per game.
Yep.
And then they also lacked consistent playmakers. They traded away Micah Parsons. F you, Jerry Jones, you freaking idiot. Why the hell would you ever do that? Fuck. That still pisses me off. Unload your bank account and give that man whatever he wanted.
Isn't
Terrible
it
owner.
crazy that like we're almost like 9 months from when we started, and that was one of the first conversations we had on this podcast was about the
Dude,
Micah Parsons thing, and we're pissed off about it, and we hate the Cowboys.
yeah, and we're still pissed off about it, and we still hate the Cowboys. But, like that was that's on par with Nico Harrison trading away Luca to LA, man. That is on par with
Poor
it.
Dallas, man. Poor Dallas.
So terrible, dude.
I hate Dallas with a burning passion, but like I feel for the rational fans there. I definitely do.
I mean, at least they have the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, right. For now, anyway.
Yeah.
They've got them for now. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that obviously you could pick any position and it'd be okay. Like I think if they're in the draft and they're at number 12 and a standout pass rusher is still there, maybe they go and get him. But secondary above anything probably is the need you have to attack most. If we go forward now, we're gonna be looking at the LA Rams, who sit at that number 13 pick. This is a team that was one game away from the Super Bowl. Their offense is star-studded. Their defense really balled out. Um, but I think that there are some needs there, and I'm interested what you guys think where you attack if you're the Rams.
Defensive back.
Yeah, I'm right with Logan on this one. Specifically safety. So yeah, I'm going safety for the Rams, dude. Hear me
You don't
out.
like Cam Curl?
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
like Curl,
Cam
but
Curl.
they could also lose him in free agency. He's a free agent this upcoming season, so they
I
could
mean,
lose him. Dude, he's gonna
safety's
get top.
undervalued, just like running back. You don't got to pay that
I
much
think
money.
Curl
Yeah,
gets top
I
dollar.
think they're gonna be real quick to lock him up too after his playoff
Yeah,
performance.
you'd
And
hope.
Kinchin's
You'd
played
hope.
pretty good too, man. He had some bright spots. It's really that defense at the cornerback
I
position.
think it's more so depth and just long-term playmaking at the safety position. If there's a position in need, it's just adding depth at the safety position. At least maybe one true starting caliber safety, or just someone to back up Curl if you were to resign him.
So, remind me, it was Devonte Adams on a 1 or 2 year contract?
Don't quote me on that.
Was it a 2 year contract?
I'll
Logan
look it
edited
up.
this out. Yeah,
Yeah, 2-year deal.
Yep.
he was on a 2 year deal. Okay, so he'll still be there. Otherwise, I would have said if you miss him, then maybe you are potentially looking at what's available at wide receiver. Get a rookie in there, work under Puka Nakua. Because I don't think that their depth is crazy at wide receiver. And if you got Matt Stafford, you got Puka, who's getting probably double teamed if you don't have another guy who's a capable, impressive pass catcher, then maybe you go after that. But
Ooh,
I'm with Logan. I think you go corner.
actually,
Well,
did Havenstein retire? I think he did, didn't he?
Hmm.
They're
I
all
can't remember.
they're right tackle. I'm
I do I do think that cornerbacks in the NFL nowadays, like the new wave is get
Yeah,
a
he
six.
did retire.
Yeah, you
I
can go
gotta
right
go right
tackle.
tackle.
Yeah.
I'm changing it up. I'm going right tackle as
Yeah,
their biggest need.
the biggest need is cornerback, man. You got a 5'9" and a 5'11" cornerback, and the wave right now in the NFL is get a 6 foot cornerback. A guy with long arms, has a big radius when it comes to defending the pass. Is physical with their hands, can stay with receivers speed wise. Ball hawks, all that kind of stuff. And when you got a
Uh,
5'9" cornerback going against JSN and those guys, like,
right. And I think outside of his obviously impressive ability to play corner, that's why Caleb Downs is so highly uh what would you say appraised, why he's gonna go potentially number two, because he does have that 6 foot frame. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to make up for the size if you're lacking there. So it all comes down to how good you are as a defensive back, and if you lack in skill, the height doesn't help.
right,
And
exactly right.
physicality, that comes into play too sometimes.
All right, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, interesting team. Um, I'm not really sure where to go with this because you are maybe probably going to lose Mike Evans this year. He's being reported to potentially either go to Baltimore, Buffalo, those Kansas City's even an option for him. He wants to go somewhere where he has a good chance to win another ring. Chris Godwin, is he a free agent as well? Oh
Where is
no, he
he?
signed a 3 year deal in March.
Okay,
Um,
that's what I thought.
yeah, so they'll still have Chris Godwin. They'll have Emeka Ibuka, who, if he can go back to like first half 2025, is going to be a real difference maker for them. So maybe you don't attack wide receiver. Um, I think honestly, you could look at, call me crazy, you could look at running back and see what's available. You could also take a look at that defense and understand that there was a huge problem there. And I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
where I'm going.
really stands out. And I think you go and you try and bolster that defensive line.
Yeah, I mean they're entering 2026 with a roster full of talent. They have Tristan Wirfs, Anton Winfield Jr. Let's be for real, they're probably gonna bring back Mike Evans. They still have Chris Godwin and Baker Mayfield. You got to go defense. It was proven last season that defense was terrible towards the end of the season, especially reestablishing the linebacker position. Levante David, he's nearing the end of his career. So I think you got to go inside linebacker to back up Levante David and ultimately take the throne from him. Outside of Levante David, there's really no one there. So I think reestablishing the linebacker position long term is the most pressing need.
Yeah, I think if you look at that secondary too, there are some holes. I mean, look at the guys who were exposing them at the end of the year. The Seahawks did it, the Rams did it, the Bills did it. All they had to do was throw a deep ball. And you have safeties like Winfield back there who are great, but that's one guy that you're asking to cover some of the best wide receivers in the league or defend against some of the best quarterbacks, best uh, window threading quarterbacks in the league, or needle threading quarterbacks in the league. So I think, yeah, probably defense. I do say that running back could be an option too, depending on the Bucky Irving situation. Obviously, I think he's still going to be there, but is he going to come back from injury the same way? We kind of were left in the dark about what exactly Buck was going on with Bucky Irving outside of the apparent injury that he had. So I'm just not sure. Logan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's got to be someone on the defensive line. Someone that can attack the quarterback. I feel like an outside linebacker or an edge rusher is kind of the need that the Buccaneers are looking at. Even a backup quarterback, because we've seen what Baker Mayfield's had to do each year. Go through all these injuries. So it'd be nice to have a secure backup quarterback other than Teddy Bridgewater.
No, I totally agree with you. And speaking of quarterbacks, guys, I think it's time we talk about the Minnesota Vikings and what they've
Mm.
got going on. Quarterback is, and I skipped one, but I think this just segues really perfectly into this. Guys, they got to go get a quarterback. I'm sorry, JJ McCarthy's not it. He's just not it. I don't care if you do it in free agency. I don't care if you draft a guy.
And the players are vocal about it too. Like Justin Jefferson's coming out in these press conferences, basically being like, "Well, I mean, it's hard to judge a receiver on his play when you got that guy throwing you the ball."
Right, and Justin, let's keep in mind, Justin Jefferson is not a guy who's known for doing that. He doesn't like to get himself involved in the drama. Compared to other star wide receivers in the league, he's not somebody who's usually that vocal about things like that. And there's potential that he could potentially be a trade piece if things don't work out. You've got teams, wide receiver needy teams out there that might be willing to throw a huge bag of picks and players the Vikings way to acquire him. So if they don't address that quarterback position, you are in serious trouble of losing another key piece of that offense. So I don't care how you do it. It's probably going to be in free agency, considering that the draft is not very quarterback strong this year. But I don't think you go anywhere else before you address the quarterback situation.
I hate to agree with you guys on this, but you do have to address the quarterback situation. I hate giving up on guys so young, especially McCarthy. He's what, 22, 23 years old? He's a young quarterback. He just wasn't ready, and I don't think he's is ready yet. I mean, he's shown flashes of success in a couple games this past season, but let's be for real. He's just not ready to be a starting quarterback yet. I do have a little bit of hope for the guy. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's a national champion, but he's simply just not ready. I'm hearing talks that maybe bring back Kirk Cousins. He had that connection with
Ew.
Justin Jefferson. I don't want him in a Minnesota uniform again. He had his time and he got one playoff win out of it. What's there to think that he's going to get another playoff win, especially given his age and his struggles? So,
Yeah, and we've seen the quarterbacks that have developed under Kevin O'Connell, and it seems like JJ McCarthy has been the one roadblock in the quarterback development tree. So,
Well, not only that, and Xander, I know what you're saying about not giving up on a guy. I know we had this conversation about McCarthy earlier on this year too, when he started off a little bit rough. He was still getting a few wins here and there, like that win against the Bears, but then he kind of just started to fall off, and we started to lose a little bit of hope in him. So I understand what you're saying. You do have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson as your guys. I don't know how much easier it gets for you.
yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And there's also injury concerns too. I mean, he got injured a couple times this past season, so
So
yeah, you need
maybe
someone who who can scan the field well, who can make plays on the run. I mean, McCarthy can make plays on the run, but yeah, just someone to scan the football or scan the football field and go through his progressions because McCarthy just stares down his number one guy the entire time. We also saw that McCarthy doesn't even force feed his best receiver in Justin Jefferson. He'd throw him the football like what, 5 times a game? That's a guy you need to be throwing to at least 10 to 15 times a
he
game.
had barely 1,000 yards this year. which is
Terrible.
it's insane. That guy should be good for 1,300 to 1,700 yards every single year. I don't care who the quarterback is.
Exactly.
That guy, you can throw the ball to him in any situation. 50 to 75% of the
Feed your
time,
best player.
he's coming down with it.
Any NFL team, if you have a star at receiver, you feed your best guy. Big Ben did it with Antonio Brown when Antonio Brown was a Pittsburgh Steeler. We saw AB get 100 plus catches damn near 6 years in a row. We
Yeah.
saw Matt Ryan force feed Julio Jones when Julio Jones was on the Falcons. We saw Brady force feed Randy Moss. Like, if you have a Hall of Fame talent at receiver, feed him the football. You have a Hall of Fame talent at receiver in Justin Jefferson, and you're not feeding him the football. What is wrong with you? I don't care if
It's
he's double covered. Throw it up, and he'll get it.
it was so crazy. I saw a post the other day of just like where all these wide receivers stand as of uh since they got into the league in terms of yardage. Justin Jefferson since 2020 has over 8,000 yards receiving. That's insane.
That's freaking nuts.
It's
That's
it's
so
fucking
nuts.
crazy, dude. And that's with him having a down season this last year. So I think honestly what they do is they don't entirely give up on McCarthy. They're not gonna trade or release him, but they are gonna sit him back and they're gonna let a veteran take over for a little bit. And I think maybe
Yes.
that can help him to progress a little bit. Um, we'll go back to the team that we skipped a little bit. Logan, hold on. Do you agree with that? You okay? You're good with that. All right. Detroit Lions. Where do we stand on the Lions?
I'm going interior offensive line. Got to go interior offensive line. You could even target running back. They just traded away David Montgomery for some O-line pieces, but I don't agree with trading away Montgomery. I'm gonna miss Sonic and Knuckles. That was such an electric combo. But yeah, interior O-line. I mean, you had Frank Ragnow. He announced his retirement and then he came back for a little bit, but we don't know if he's gonna stay in the NFL or he's gonna retire again. So
Yeah,
there's a
so
little
he
bit.
had failed his physical when he came back, so he never even played in a game. Um,
I forgot about that.
yeah,
Oh my God, I
yeah,
forgot.
he never even played in a game, and I think the reason he was coming back was because the team was on the verge of whether they were going to make the playoffs or not, and if they made it there, maybe they have another shot at the Super Bowl. I'm not sure that you'll see him come back.
Probably not. So yeah, there's doubt at center. They just lack a clear long-term answer at center, losing Ragnow, and then you have your guard depth. Guard depth is a concern. There's veteran age, and then cap situations tighten. So addressing interior O line, it's just the top priority for Detroit, especially to protect Jared Goff and just bolster the run game in general.
Well, we saw what happened with Jared Goff, right? Logan was the first one to really point it out on the podcast that with when the blitz comes, he gets a little jumpy in there. His feet don't get
Yeah.
set the right way. He's an older quarterback. He doesn't move the same way he once did. And so I agree with you entirely. I think you go after interior offensive line. Logan, as the guy who brought that up initially, do you agree?
Yeah, I think the NFL, we've seen the NFL shift throughout the years, whether it's developing the run game, the running back being devalued and then valued all of a sudden again. And now in the NFL, it's going from edge rush to interior rush. Can you stop guys like Jalen Carter coming from the interior defensive line? Can you stop the interior pass rush? And that's where we saw Jared Goff get really uncomfortable. That's the quickest way to get to the quarterback is if you can beat the guard, beat the center, or blow him over. So, sturdy that position up. They just traded for Scruggs and got him in that deal. So, it'll be interesting to see how he fits into the offensive line. But I agree with you. Go get depth at the offensive line position. You've had a couple of older guys that have retired, and you got to get the depth.
So I made a huge mistake and entirely skipped one of the most important teams in the draft with the number 3 overall pick, the Arizona Cardinals. Um, so that is a team that has needs in just about everywhere right now, and I think one of those big needs again is the quarterback position. I don't think Kyler Murray's going to be there. So
Yeah,
what
I think they released them.
did they officially release him?
They're probably gonna officially release them in the
Yeah,
next few days.
I
I
thought
don't
so.
think as soon as that report came out, I don't think any trade or any team is going to trade for him.
No, do we think that it's going to be a post June 1st though, considering his contract.
Ooh, that I don't know. That's a
Depends on how
good
much
thought.
money. Yeah, it depends on the
Remember,
money.
he signed a $230 million contract. So,
Holy shit.
um,
That's what Tua went through. I don't think his contract's as big as Tua's, though, is it?
Tua's
No.
is definitely more, and Tua's going to be a post June 1st release as well, more than likely.
Huh.
Um, but yeah, Cardinals, man, go out and get a veteran. I think that's where you start. You go out and get a veteran quarterback. Pass catchers are another big thing for them. I think anybody on that offense is probably going to help you, except for the tight end position. You got Trey McBride, one of the best tight ends in the game right now. Um, but they're a team with lots of holes. They're right up there with the Jets and the Raiders, and that's why they are the number 3 overall pick.
I was gonna say quarterback, but I thought this was gonna be like a draft needs video. So I was like, oh, they're just gonna address that in free agency. But you guys said, oh, this is a free agency and draft video. So I'm like, oh shit.
It's everything.
You know what? I'll switch it up anyways. I'm gonna go offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals. I think at guard Brown, he's gonna be a cut candidate. He had a very disappointing season at guard. Will Hernandez, he was ineffective, and he's probably gonna leave in free agency. Then you have Isaiah Adams. He was a third round pick a couple years ago. He struggled massively to start last season, but he did improve down the stretch. And then you have John Gaines. He's a 2023 fourth rounder. And then he did show flashes at his position, but he lacks experience. So I think targeting offensive line for whoever you bring in at quarterback, whether it's someone in free agency or via the draft, I think you need to target offensive line to help that guy out. Protect the pocket.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I'd get someone at offensive line too, but don't be surprised if they take a really good player, playmaker like Love at number 3. But it goes back to the question of we saw what Saquon Barkley and how that panned out, and when he played for the Giants, there was no O line, and he was forced to run behind and guys that couldn't block for him. Could that be the same situation if they draft Love in Arizona? I don't know. So I just feel like offensive line's their area of need.
It's really going to be interesting to see where Jeremiah Love falls because after his draft combine, initially I was like top 10 pick for sure, probably going to fall in the later half of that. But after what we saw from him in draft analysts and experts coming out and saying that he's one of the top running back prospects in the last some odd years, like maybe somebody does go out and take them third or fourth overall. Um, let's move on to the next team though, which is the Atlanta Falcons. And to me, they have a quarterback stability problem. Obviously, they've released Kirk Cousins at this point, and Michael Penix, you're still trying to figure out whether he's the guy or not. Personally, to me, I'm not sure that he is, but I don't know what they're gonna do unless they go out and make a trade or try and get somebody in free agency. So I'll stick for right now with saying they need some wide receiver depth. I think that is a position that if you do want to stick with Penix for one more year, that's really going to help his case in terms of whether he can be the starter. You just brought back Kyle Pitts again for your tight end, who I think if you throw the ball to him effectively and actually use him, can have that talent to be sort of a wide receiver and be a great pass catcher. You have Bijan, so there's no problems at the running back. He's an awesome pass catcher as well. But you need guys who can play out at the X and the Z positions. I think those are very important positions that they do not have right now.
Well,
Yeah,
they were also in. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going receiver as well. They have Drake London, who he's a awesome guy at as a first option for the Falcons, but they don't have any guys outside of Drake London at receiver. How many times did we see their receivers not run their correct routes or not come open downfield? And there's just a consistent lack of separation given all of the receivers outside of London. If London didn't come open, there wasn't a reliable second option at wide receiver. He played 12 games last season, caught 68 passes. All the receivers combined, given the 17 games they played, 75 catches. That's just 7 more than Drake London. And they played 4 more games than him. And they also had less receiving yards than him, with 4 more games than him. So they need to target a receiver to help take the load off of Drake London.
This is a team that somehow made the playoffs this year. Not really entirely sure how that happened. The NFC South just sucked, and the Buccaneers had an all-time collapse in the second half of the season. But they made it, and Bryce Young started to look a little bit better at the end of that. They have two wide receivers right now, in Leggett and McMillan, who I think Leggett maybe less than McMillan have a lot of potential. I'm not sure whether you go after wide receiver in this draft, or if you switch it up a little bit and try and get that defense bolstered a little bit more, which is where I would go. I think they got to do a little bit better in the maybe the linebacker and secondary position.
Playmaker on offense or defense. We saw what Ted did and how it helped the offense out, helped Bryce Young out. Maybe they're one offensive playmaker away from, taking another step forward and becoming even more explosive. But defensively, I'd like to see something in the secondary. We saw, what JC Horn's able to do, but give him a little help on the opposite side, whether it's at corner, whether it's at the safety position. Just something to defend the pass. I think they need to improve against teams they face in that division who like to throw the football, and obviously Bijan's in that division, so teams are going to run the football as well. But when you're going against Tyler Shuck, who's now going to be a key point for the Saints' future, and he's going to be airing that football out, so you're going to have to get help, and you're going to have to adjust based on the teams in your division.
Yeah, I like that pick. I'm gonna go edge rusher for the Carolina Panthers, simply because they ranked near the bottom of the NFL for consecutive seasons, and they were 28th in the league with sacks at 30. 30 total sacks last season. So I think they go edge rusher. I think that's the biggest need for them, especially after that 2024 trade, trading Brian Burns to, I believe, the New York Giants, correct? Yeah, they traded him to the Giants. So after that trade, the Panthers just lacked a consistent premier pass rusher to pressure opposing quarterbacks. So I think that's the biggest position of need.
I think you could pick anybody on the defensive side, considering how bad that defense has been over the last 2 years, and you make improvements anywhere. Going on to the Green Bay Packers. Now, for me, you could go all over the place here as well. Obviously, on the offensive side, Rasheed Walker and Sean Ryan are hitting free agency. You don't know whether you're going to keep both of them. So, do you upgrade that offensive line? Your left tackle potentially leaving. You need to have Jordan Love protected. It is an absolute must. So if Walker leaves, do not be surprised if that's where they go and try and spend a good chunk of money. However, I do think that the defensive side of the ball is a big issue as well. They bring in Micah Parsons, and that defense really didn't get a whole lot better with just him. And he did miss some time, and he's going to miss a lot of time next year with the injury that he had. So to me, with Quay Walker potentially leaving too, maybe you would address the linebacker position first. You also need to go out and get some better corners, because
Yeah.
the corner position is really bad too. So linebacker corner, that's what I
Yeah,
got.
Max, that's the same thing I was going to say, so I'll make it short. Linebacker corner, you're not going to be able to afford to pay Quay Walker the money he's going to be demanding because he's a stud, man, and he's going to go and make top dollar whatever team chooses him. And then you mentioned a cornerback, Jeff Hathley, the defensive coordinator who just got hired as the Miami Dolphins head coach. He's known as being a defensive back guru, so just imagine how much better he made that secondary look for the guys they really had on the depth chart. So go address that need, go get you a playmaker in the secondary.
Yeah, I'm going secondary as well. It was a major weakness last season. I mean, Keyshawn Nixon, he struggled, and there's just no proven number one corner after parting ways with Jair Alexander. So I think corner's the biggest issue.
Yeah, I think that secondary is really, really bad, and it kind of cost them some games last year. The second and third levels weren't as strong as that defensive line. Going on to the Philadelphia Eagles now, a team that is 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl, looks a lot different now. It looks a lot different. Um, I think that there's a chance that they go offensive line. They're going to look to upgrade some positions at offensive line. Dallas Goddard's also potentially leaving, so could you go tight end? Maybe. Um, I don't really know whether you attack offense or defense in this one. I think their defense is pretty solid, so you probably want to prioritize your offense, which was very disappointing compared to the previous season. And you got guys like AJ Brown, who is probably going to be traded. Do you go out and get another wide receiver? I'm not sure. You could also say if you do want to attack the defensive side, you could go edge rusher. I don't know. I'm kind of stumped on this one. I think you stay with offense and try and get some more playmakers in there, or upgrade that offensive line and find somebody to be a potential long-term replacement for Lane Johnson when he inevitably retires in a year or two.
I'm gonna go with tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles simply because I don't think Dallas Goedert does return to Philadelphia. I think they need a long-term answer at tight end, especially someone who can replace Goddard's receiving role and more importantly, blocking value. Goddard is known as a pretty good blocking tight end, so they need someone to play a little bit like his style. And there's just multiple tight end options on the roster that are weak in one area or the other. So I think that's a draft priority for Philly.
Yeah, I want to say offensive line, but really it was offensive coordinator. And now that they got rid of him, it'd be interesting to see what their new OC would bring to the table because that offense was horrible, man. Yeah, you got to go offensive line. That defense is solid. Yeah, I'd get an edge rusher if anything. If there's a good enough edge rusher available, I'd swipe him. But if not, address the offensive line.
Yeah, I think offensive line for me would be exactly where I go with that. Another team who with some needs potentially on both sides of the ball, guys, is a team that is vastly improved from the year before in the Chicago Bears. And obviously Ben Johnson comes in and it turns that team entirely around. And Caleb Williams looked fantastic for the most part, at least in the second half of that season, and really stepped up as a playmaker. Now you've got to have some insurance policy for him. And I think that left tackle is still a problem for them. I think left tackle is still an issue for the Chicago Bears, and we saw Caleb Williams still being forced to extend plays because the blind side is not being protected. He's got to roll right a lot. Oftentimes, he found a way to make it work. He was way better outside the pocket and on the move, extending plays than he was in the previous year. I do think that he is his best when he is in the pocket, though. And so I think that left tackle is where you go. But the defensive line on the other side of the ball needs some serious work as well. Defensive tackles, edge rusher. Even if you want to back it up to the third level and go safety, I think there's a lot of areas to attack. Tremaine Edmonds might be leaving the Bears as well. That opens up another position at the linebacker spot that they might need to address. The defense, I think we all agree, is what has held the Bears back, at least
Yes,
last year and the year before, especially. But that
100%.
offensive line and that left tackle position is a huge need, especially when you have a quarterback that is developing well and in 2 years, maybe even next year, depending on how things go, is going to get a massive contract.
Yeah, I mean the Bears offense was the band-aid over the bullet hole. Blah, blah, blah. The Bears offense was the band-aid on the bullet hole because the defense couldn't stop shit, man. Like the defensive tackles, edge rushers getting pushed back, no one can get to the quarterback. So yeah, I'm with you. Go get a defensive line, defensive lineman, help out. Whether it's getting to the quarterback or stuff in the interior. When you go against the Green Bay Packers and they want to go heavy personnel, we see the Chicago Bears get pushed back and back and back, but they're able to, pull it out in the end. And, the W is what matters at the end of the day. So I think here's my prediction for the offseason. The Bears are going to trade DJ Moore in a second round pick for Max Crosby.
Hmm.
And I think that's,
What
and
does
I
their
think,
cap
I think,
situation look like?
well, that's not really a factor because Max Crosby just got a new contract and he's making under $30 million a year. And when we're talking about other edge rushers who are his caliber making 40, $50 million a year, so,
They're going to change that contract.
well, he's probably going to demand it, but
Yeah.
it can't be that crazy. I mean, you look at the language on that contract, it benefits the ownership.
I mean, I like the take of him going to the Bears. I think that that would be a good spot for him. I just think that the money could potentially be a
He's 30
problem.
years old though. I don't, you can't,
So is Miles Garrett.
yeah, but Miles Garrett is Miles Garrett, bro.
Yeah, Max Crosby is not on Miles Garrett level, but he's like a tier under him.
Right. And even a tier, I mean, give me an example of like other 30-year-old like Khalil Mack. He's 35. He's still making an impact at 35, but he's more of a Miles Garrett. Like
But 30 and 35 is a huge difference.
I know, but you're still on the back. He's on the back end of his career after this year, I think.
Sander, you got a take on that? I can't believe what I'm hearing right now.
I'm going opposite side of the football and sticking with O-line. Like you mentioned, Max, I got to go with left tackle here. I think that's the hole on the Chicago Bears roster. You have some internal options that are developing, but the Bears need to target a more reliable starter at left tackle. How many times did we see this season where Caleb Williams had to roll out and make plays with his legs? He was getting pressured from the left side of the football practically every single snap, dude. It was terrible.
That
And
Rams game
yes,
was hard to watch.
such a hard watch. It was brutal, dude. It was brutal. And all credit to Caleb Williams, phenomenal making plays on the run. But I think, like you mentioned, Max, you have him in the pocket. He's a much better passer. So you got to protect him on that offensive line, especially at left tackle.
Couldn't put it better myself. We'll keep going, trying to get through the rest of these teams here. We're on to the San Francisco 49ers. Offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, secondary. Man, you just need a spot where somebody could stay freaking healthy. That's what needs to happen. You could upgrade any position, and as long as they stay healthy, it's an upgrade. But if I had to pick
Yeah.
one, you need an explosive wide receiver threat. I think that's where the San Francisco 49ers stand right now. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk is going off the deep end. He's taking the Antonio Brown route, and I'm not sure that he's ever going to play
No,
football
he's not.
again.
Not for them.
No, not for them. He's not. I don't think he's going to play for anybody. I don't think anybody wants to take on the craziness that comes with him. Um, your guys right now are Jawan Taylor or Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, who are both good threats, but I don't think either of them is really a number one guy. Go out and get a number one guy.
Yeah, I got him at
Yeah.
offensive line. Yeah, I'll be quick. At offensive line, I think, even with the age and the injuries that the 49ers have faced in the past years at pretty much every position, you look at what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. He wants the outside zone, inside zone, play action off of it. It all depends on the offensive line.
I got to go with the pass rush. I think the pass rush is a top priority for San Francisco. They finished near the bottom of the NFL in sacks in 2025. Large part of that is due to the injuries to Nick Bosa and Michael Williams, but I still think that they need a target pass rusher even if those guys come back healthy, just to add the edge depth because what are the odds Bosa gets hurt again? What are the odds Michael Williams gets hurt again? So I think they need a target pass rush depth. And honestly, wide receiver as well. I like that pick from Max. Brandon Ayuk, he's gone. Juwan Jennings, he's going to command a large free agent deal or maybe even leave. And then Ricky Pearsall, he's struggled with injuries and inconsistency. So there's a lack of proven options for Brock Purdy at the wide receiver position. So I think that's also a high priority.
Yeah. Logan, let me know if I'm missing anybody. We are on to the Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks. Do they really have a need anywhere? That team was fantastic. Almost every position, all over the field, offense, defense. They really had such a complete team, especially towards the end of that season. If I had to pick one though, maybe you bolster that defensive line and edge rusher. Maybe that's where you go with that. Cornerback, you have Tariq Woolen hitting free agency. Does he potentially demand a contract that they're unable to pay? Is Kenneth Walker going to be re-signed? For their
They got to
sake, I hope they
franchise tag
do.
that man.
Well, yeah, but a franchise tag is going to look a little bit disrespectful to him after what he was able to do, I think.
Yes and no. I mean, yeah. I mean, he could want to go somewhere like and pull not pull a Jameer Gibbs, but find a grass is greener opportunity where he can get all the carries. He might.
Yeah. So I want to know what you guys think as far as who they should
Best
take. I think
available.
this is a really solid team.
Actually, I like Logan's pick, best available. Whatever
Yeah.
position, best available.
Well, remember
I like that.
the Seahawks only have 4 draft picks this year.
I got a target corner. You
What
have
corner out of all the
Yeah,
positions?
Tariq Woolen
Tariq Woolen.
is
He's probably
hitting
going to
free
leave in
agency.
free agency.
Yeah.
Josh Jobe is a
They're
free
not gonna.
agent.
You don't think they'll re-sign Tariq Woolen?
I don't think so.
Really?
I
I
think they
think
let him go.
I don't
it's
know how you
tough.
walk away after
Well,
winning the
listen,
Super
you've
Bowl.
got to pay maybe Kenneth Walker, 100% JSN. Um,
Good point. Maybe
there's a
you
lot
can't
of
afford
money
him.
being
Yeah.
dished out. There's a lot of money being dished out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if Walker leaves, then you got to fill that running back position, but there's no depth at the running back spot in the drafts. That's the one problem.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So all in a
Would you ride with Charbonnet as your starting running back?
no.
He's injured for most of the next season.
Yeah, so there's that, and then even if he wasn't, he's an inside the 20s guy. I think he can
Yep.
get you the short yardage in the midfield, but he's not your guy. He's not Kenneth Walker. He's not
Yep.
Kenneth Walker. He doesn't have that quick speed, the quick ability to make cuts. He doesn't have the ability for those explosive plays like Walker
Mm.
does. And that was a huge part, despite Walker not having a ton of touchdowns from it. It was a huge part of why they made it to the Super Bowl. If that's
Right
all
there
that we
with you.
got, am I missing any other teams? I think I got them all.
I think you did. I think you hit him.
You got them all.
All right,
I've
cool.
been looking and paying attention.
All
No,
right,
he
well,
got them all.
if that's the case, then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the In the Pocket podcast. Again, we have seen such growth in this last month. Truly grateful for all of you guys that are tuning in, watching the shorts, leaving comments, liking the videos, whatever it may be. Support is unreal. We've got some good videos coming up, some good content coming your way. We've got another special guest next Monday, another NFL player joining the podcast. And then after that, we will have our draft picks and our mock draft for the first round, picks 1 through 32. We'll have a special guest on for that one as well. So super excited to throw those videos and that content your way. If you enjoy it, make sure you subscribe, like the videos, and stay tuned with us as we head into the off season. We're going to try and keep the off season entertaining for everybody, as it is one of the saddest times, saddest 7 months of the year for us. So if you enjoyed, make sure to go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.